Okay, Ryan, let's jump over to the NFC real quick. The Commanders going to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. You've got Jayden Daniels, rookie sensation with Dan Quinn. Got to give you credit because in the offseason, you said Washington hiring Dan Quinn. You called it. You said that's a great move. That's the best thing for that franchise. I don't think anybody expected them to be here. I certainly didn't. It's an amazing, impressive season. Tampa was on the ropes against New Orleans. It literally looked like for a minute, oh my God, they're going to lose and Atlanta's going to get in. They survive. I don't know your take on this one. The Bucs are favored by 3.5 points. Ryan, I kind of like Washington here just because I don't know what Tampa team I'm going to get. And it seems like, as we've talked about with the Jaguars, as we've talked about with Tampa, it's that roller coaster team. The Jaguars last year, this year, the Jaguars have never taken off. When we were in Kansas City, we were watching Tampa play Dallas, and we were like, okay, just lock this up against an injured Dallas team and Cooper Rush, and they got boat raced. Like Dallas completely owned them. Today, the Saints almost dominated Tampa. They came back in the second half, but it was close, and it shouldn't have been. Spencer Rattler should not have been, defeating Tampa Bay. If Baker gets hot, if Mike Evans gets hot, if they can get a run game going and the defense gets pressures and sacks, Tampa can be dangerous. But right now, I feel like I trust the Commanders more as a more complete football team. Is that wild?
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. That's a perfect evaluation of this football game. I think that, by the way, let's just take a step back and say that the NFC playoff picture is as of right now, is much more entertaining than the AFC.
By far.
Cannot wait to watch the NFC shake out.
I could be surprised. The AFC is going to be fun next week, like the next round. But.
Right. But there's always a surprise, right? One of these three games in the AFC is going to throw us for the loop. I'm fully expectant of that. But the NFC picture, it's just going to be it's just some hard-fought football. Any of these teams could beat the other team on any given Sunday. But what we're talking about is the Commanders at the Bucs. Now, downside is they're playing at the Bucs. Hard stadium to play in. Baker Mayfield is a dog when he is playing hot. But like you said about Denver has one game script that they have to run. The Bucs are very similar, man. They have to get that running game going with Bucky Irving. They have to get Mike Evans open.
And they have to get pressure. Yeah,
and they have to get pressure. The defense is lacking. The offense is inconsistent. And I just think that where the Bucs fall short, the Commanders excel. I think the Commanders are a very even-keeled team, and I think that the defense shows up when it needs to. That line can be scary at times. They have to get pressure on Baker, and that secondary, I think the secondary of the Commanders is better than the Bucs. So for them to be 3.5? Yeah, 3.5 point favorites, the Bucs being 3.5 point favorites, I think that's a shot at the Commanders, man. I think that's too big of a. I would definitely take the under on this all day.
Do you agree with me? You think if you had to make a pick right now, Commanders win? Okay.
100%. Yeah.
So to your point,
I would take the under, and I would take them straight up.
Right.
Like, no doubt.
So we agreed that they both have inconsistencies. I will say this though. One thing to watch, Marshawn Lattimore, if he comes back and he plays for the Commanders, him and Mike Evans, they hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. That's going to be a matchup to watch. Another guy to keep your eye on in this game, me and you talked about him in the NFL draft. I think in one of our mocks, maybe even our final mock, we had him go in first round when no one else had him go in first round. Sandra Still, the corner out of Michigan that ended up going to Washington. I know you remember talking about him in the draft.
I remember that name.
He has kind of been a baller the last couple weeks, as me and you kind of predicted he would be. Watch out for him because him and Lattimore, if Lattimore plays, could kind of wreck the Tampa Bay passing attack. I think ever since Jayden Daniels recovered from that rib injury, remember that his ribs got hurt and he looked bad for a couple weeks and they were just off and didn't seem right. It seems like he's recovered and he's been playing his best ball. The thing to me to watch out for is because Tampa can be inconsistent, if this game turns into a shootout, I kind of think that can benefit Washington because Jayden Daniels being able to run and make plays and throw dimes, depending on that Tampa defense, if Tampa's not able to get pressure and get sacks, I think Jayden Daniels could torch them. I could see this game going either way, but right now, man, I'm definitely leaning Commanders. I think Washington's going to get the win. Even though I like Tampa, I just think they're too inconsistent.